1651 AD, 55:45 AM. Antonio de Castro del Castillo, Bishop of La Paz in South America, wrote concerning the enigmatic megalithic ruins of Pumapunka near Tiwanaku, quote, "It has not been concluded that these structures date from before the flood," unquote. As seen in CHRONICON 1, these ruins were left from the global cataclysm that occurred 552 years after the Great Flood, in the year 1687 BC, when planet Phoenix transited, darkening the sun and afflicting the planet with devastating earthquakes. William Lilly of England predicted that the plague would return to London and that the city of London would be destroyed in a fire. Both of these would occur in 15 more years. 1. De Castro del Castillo, Teatro Eclesiastico. 1652 AD, 55:46 AM. John Greaves died, famous for his research on the pyramids of Egypt. This year ends the 12th Baktun of the Mayan long count calendar, begun in 3113 BC, being 1,728,000 days, or 144,000 times 12 days. This begins the final Baktun of 144,000 days to the year 2046 AD, when Nibiru pushes Earth off its present orbit around the Sun into a much tighter orbit that abbreviates the year to 240 days and the day to 16 hours, when North America is destroyed by a comet meteorite impact. A comet is reported by Europeans in this year, in November. A meteorite crashed between Siena and Rome in May. 1. Introduction to Comets. 2. Book of the Damned. 1653 AD, 55:47 AM. The tomb of Merovingian king Childeric I, father of Clovis I, was accidentally discovered by a stonemason working on a church. Inside the tomb were found 300 golden bees. 12 years later, these bees would be given to the French king Louis XIV in 1665. The bee was a symbol of royalty, one of the world's most mysterious objects. 1656 AD, 55:50 AM. Manasseh bin Israel, leader of the Jews of Amsterdam, visited London and met with the Puritan English minister Oliver Cromwell, persuading him to allow the Jews to return to England. The Jews had been disallowed entrance into England since the expulsion edict of 1290 AD by King Edward I, 366 years earlier. Cromwell was an avid reader of the scriptures. This year 1656 is 414 times 4, or 552 times 3, the Annus Mundi year of 1656 being 2239 BC, when the Great Flood occurred. Edmund Halley was born, famous for discovering that a returning comet was the same comet that had returned many previous times, named Halley's. He predicted its return, and 16 years after his death it did return in 1758. Archbishop James Ussher died, the Christian chronologist who dated the beginning of the world at 4004 AD and Armageddon at 1996 AD. Ussher's chronology became the accepted Orthodox chronology, despite its errors. His chronology is 110 years off, just as the ancient Jewish calendar used today is 133 years off. 1. History in quotations. 1657 AD, 5551 AM. The dark satellite, a former rock and metal moon of Nibiru, passes through the inner solar system after 395 years orbiting the Sun. This begins its final orbit of 395 years to its return to pass close to Earth in 2052 AD, bringing the 7 kings of the Anunnaki, who will rule mankind during the Beast Kingdom. 1658 AD, 5552 AM. 2 years after he died, James Ussher's chronology was published as the Annals of the World, deduced from the origin of time. It was an instant success, the talk of England and Europe. This year was exactly 5,000 plus 552 years Annus Mundi, or 1658 AD. Phoenix is seen in When the Sun Darkens, and Nostradamus and the Planets of Apocalypse was the planet of chronology, 552 years being a phoenix cycle. 1660 AD, 5554 AM. The Royal Society is formed in London by Freemasons. It would become official in 1662. The society would become the world's foremost knowledge filter in establishing what would be considered scientifically true or heretical. Britain enacted the Navigations Act to regulate colonial commerce to fit the needs of England. 1661 AD, 55:55 AM. Europeans report the appearance of a comet in January. 1. Introduction to comets. 1664 AD, 5558 AM. The English take over New Amsterdam on Manhattan Island and rename it New York. This city would become the financial epicenter for global commerce, a great metropolis with steel and glass towers to heaven. The Black Death Plague strikes London for the 5th time since 1593 when it first appeared. The following year would see the greatest loss of life. Astronomer Robert Hooke discovered the red spot on the surface of Jupiter, an unusual gigantic region about the size of Earth that appears to move around in a liquid state that never wanders too far from its latitude, as if tethered to the area. This was the 4,000th year since the birth of Shem in 2337 BC, ancestral patriarch of the Semites. 1. The Age of Reason. 2. The Mask of Nostradamus. 3. Our Haunted Planet. 1665 AD, 5559 AM. The Black Death Plague in London, England, alone killed 68,596 people, but estimates of the total death toll in England was closer to 100,000 between this and 1666. This is the 72nd year since the arrival of the plague in 1593. In March, a blue silky substance fell from a clear blue sky in great quantities near Nuremberg. 1. Great disasters. 2. The Mask of Nostradamus. 3. Book of the Damned. 1666 AD, 5560 AM. The Great Fire of London devastates the city, many believing that it also rid them of the plague. This fire was first predicted by Nostradamus and then later by William Lilly. The astrologer Lilly was summoned to stand before Parliament to prove himself, to show that it was not he that started the fires. Successfully defending himself, he was freed. The Dutch fleet engaged the English at the mouth of the Thames River and saw 6,000 English dead, with only 800 Dutch fatalities. The English lost 23 vessels. This was the 600th year since the Norman invasion of England in 1066 AD. The Lutheran prelate Benedict Karpsov died, a fanatic who had condemned to death over 20,000 women. An astronomical observatory established in Paris, France, and King Louis XIV established the Paris Meridian, a longitudinal line that ran straight through Paris on a Franco-centric map. John Milton completes his epic Paradise Lost, published the following year. Concerning the fall of man, Sir Isaac Newton invents the mirror telescope. Concerning telescopes, in this year, Gian Domenico Sassini reported that he had discovered ice caps at the polar extremities on the planet Mars. It is to be noted that Cassini at this time did not mention seeing any moons orbiting Mars, which would not be discovered until 1877 AD. Many believe these 2 moons around Mars recently appeared in orbit. John Aubrey studied Stonehenge and discovered the famous Aubrey holes. 1. Sages and Seers. 2. March of the Titans. 3. Christ the Power and the Passion. 4. The First Genesis. 5. The Stone Angle.